You probably know your blood type. AB, AB, or maybe even O. Maybe you found out at a doctor's office. Maybe it was on some paperwork. Maybe someone told you years ago and you never thought about it again. But what if I told you that one letter has been quietly influencing your health since the day you were born? Your risk of heart disease, how your body handles stress, your vulnerability to certain cancers, even how your body responds to infectious diseases. In fact, during COVID-19, researchers noticed something strange. People with one blood type consistently seemed to have lower rates of severe illness than people with another. And that wasn't the first time scientists had seen something like that. Because your blood type isn't just about blood transfusions. It's a biological profile, a set of strengths, a set of vulnerabilities, and a collection of hidden tendencies that have been following you your entire life. Some blood types appear to have better protection against certain diseases. Some may have a higher risk of blood clots. Some seem to respond to stress differently. And one blood type that sounds almost unbeatable comes with a weakness most people never see coming. The crazy part? Most people never learn any of this. They know the letter, but they have no idea what that letter might actually mean. Today, we're breaking down what researchers have discovered about every major blood type, the advantages, the disadvantages, and what your blood type may be hiding from you. That's a fact. Before we get into heart disease, cancer, and all the other stuff, we need to answer one question. What actually is a blood type? Most people know the letter. Very few know what the letter means. Your blood type is determined by tiny markers sitting on the surface of your red blood cells. Think of them like ID badges. Type A has one kind of badge, Type B has another, Type AB has both, and Type O doesn't have either. These badges help your immune system figure out what belongs in your body and what doesn't. That's why blood transfusions have to match. If the wrong blood type enters your body, your immune system doesn't see it as help. It sees it as an invader. But here's the part most people never hear about. Those same badges aren't just interacting with blood. They're interacting with bacteria, viruses, stress hormones, your cardiovascular system, even the way certain diseases affect your body. In other words, your blood type isn't just a label, it's a biological profile. And once researchers started studying those profiles, they discovered something surprising. Some blood types appear to have advantages that others don't, and some carry risks most people never see coming. Let's start with the heart. Because this is where blood type stops being a fun fact and starts becoming something that could actually affect your life. Researchers studying hundreds of thousands of people noticed a pattern. People with Type O blood consistently showed lower rates of heart disease than people with Type A, Type B, or Type AB blood. And the difference wasn't tiny. In some studies, non-O blood types showed significantly higher risks of heart attacks, blood clots, and other cardiovascular problems. So what was causing it? The answer appears to come down to how easily your blood clots. Inside your bloodstream is a protein called von Willebrand factor. Think of it like your body's emergency repair crew. When you're injured, it helps blood clot and stop bleeding. That's a good thing. The problem is when there's too much of it. People with Type A, Type B, and Type AB blood tend to have higher levels of this clotting protein than Type O individuals. More clotting ability can be helpful when you're bleeding. But inside healthy blood vessels, it can also increase the chances of dangerous blockages forming over time. And blockages are exactly what cause many heart attacks and strokes. Imagine traffic moving smoothly down a highway. Now imagine random roadblocks appearing every few miles. The more roadblocks you create, the greater the chance something eventually gets stuck. That's essentially what excessive clotting can do inside the cardiovascular system. Meanwhile, Type O blood tends to produce lower levels of this clotting factor. Their blood still clots when needed, just not as aggressively, and that appears to give them a measurable cardiovascular advantage. Now, before every Type O person starts celebrating, this doesn't mean you're immune to heart disease. You can still eat terribly, you can still avoid exercise, you can still ignore your blood pressure, and all of those things can overwhelm any advantage your blood type gives you. Lifestyle still matters more than blood type. But if two people lived exactly the same way, the person with Type O blood would likely begin the race with a small head start. And that's exactly why understanding your biology matters. Not because it determines your future, because it helps explain the risks you're already carrying. Heart disease isn't the only place blood type starts showing up. Because researchers have found links between blood type and everything from cancer to viruses to some of the world's most common infections. And this is where things get really strange. Let's start with cancer. Several studies have found that people with type O blood appear to have slightly lower rates of certain cancers, especially stomach cancer. Meanwhile, type A blood has repeatedly been linked to somewhat higher risks in multiple studies. Scientists still aren't completely sure why. One theory is that blood type markers may influence inflammation inside the body. Another is that they may affect how certain cancer cells interact with surrounding tissues. But here's the important part. Blood type does not cause cancer. A person with type O can still get cancer. A person with type A can live their entire life without it. We're talking about risk differences, not destiny. Now let's move to viruses, because some viruses appear to care about your blood type even more than cancer does. During the COVID-19 pandemic, researchers noticed another strange pattern. Study after study suggested that people with type O blood were slightly less likely to develop severe infections compared to some other blood types. Again, the advantage wasn't huge, but it showed up often enough that scientists started paying attention. The reason may come down to how viruses attach themselves to our cells. Remember those blood type markers we talked about earlier? Some viruses appear to interact with those markers differently. In other words, your blood type may slightly affect how easy it is for certain viruses to get a foothold inside your body. And COVID isn't the only example. Norovirus, the virus famous for causing stomach bugs and cruise ship outbreaks, also appears to behave differently depending on a person's blood type. In fact, some people are naturally more resistant to certain strains than others, which sounds almost like a superpower. But before type O starts celebrating again, blood type is only one tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle. Sleep, diet, exercise, age, underlying health conditions, all of those usually matter far more. Your blood type might influence the odds, but it doesn't control the outcome. Still, it's pretty wild to think that a tiny badge attached to your blood cells could influence everything from cancer risk to how your body handles a virus. And we're not done yet, because next comes one of the weirdest claims of all. Could your blood type affect stress, or even your personality? Stress isn't just a feeling, it's a biological process. Every time you're startled, every time you're nervous, every time you're under pressure, your body launches a chain reaction behind the scenes. Your heart beats faster, your breathing changes, your brain becomes more alert. And one chemical plays a major role in all of it, a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is often called the body's stress hormone. Think of it like an emergency messenger. When your brain senses a threat, cortisol helps prepare your body to react. For years, researchers have wondered whether blood type might influence this process. Could certain blood types respond to stress differently than others? Some studies have suggested that people with type O blood may produce slightly higher levels of cortisol under certain conditions. If that's true, blood type could have a small influence on how the body handles stress. But before any type O's start blaming their blood type for every stressful day, the evidence isn't clear. Some studies found differences, others found weak results, and some found no meaningful connection at all. In other words, scientists are still trying to figure it out. But while researchers were debating stress, another idea was becoming incredibly popular. And this one had almost nothing to do with biology. It had to do with personality. In several countries, especially Japan and South Korea, many people began believing blood type could predict personality. The idea became so popular that some people treated blood type almost like a horoscope. According to the theory, type A people are organized and responsible. Type B people are creative and independent. Type O people are confident leaders. And type AB people are supposed to be a mix of everything. Millions of people believed it. Some companies even used blood type during hiring decisions. Some people used it to predict friendships, relationships, and even marriages. But there was one problem. When researchers actually tested the idea, the evidence mostly disappeared. Most studies found little or no meaningful connection between blood type and personality. In other words, your blood type probably doesn't determine who you are. But if blood type doesn't control your personality, then what exactly does it influence? And that's where the real science gets interesting. The evidence mostly disappeared. Most studies found little or no meaningful connection between blood type and personality. In other words, your blood type probably doesn't determine who you are. Not whether you're a leader, not whether you're creative, not whether you're organized, and definitely not who you're supposed to marry. Blood type is real science, but many of the stories built around it aren't. Some small health patterns may exist. Some disease links may be worth studying, but none of them are powerful enough to define you as a person. At the end of the day, your choices, habits, environment, and experiences shape your life far more than a letter on a blood test. So next time someone tells you they know your personality because of your blood type, you can tell them that's probably not a fact. But the science behind blood types? That's a fact.